learn featured speaker Lisa Dawley, creating teen and teacher access to social good innovation. Social good innovation builds strong communities and economies. Yet, a major question driving our work is how does innovation happen and who becomes an innovator? There are estimated millions of lost Einsteins, those students who have the potential to become innovators yet don't have access to innovation culture. Access to innovation culture can be influenced by gender, geographic location, socio-economic status, and race. We'll share our work to break down the access barriers and develop thousands of teen and teacher changemakers around the globe. Implications for XR virtual exchanges will be shared. May I present to you Dr. Lisa Dawley.
Hi, everybody. Heather, thank you so much for the introduction. I really appreciate people that are here in person on the live stream and those of you that may be watching in the future. I'm so excited to share this work. This is really a passion project that we've been engaging with for the last 4 years at the Jacobs Institute for Innovation and Education at the University of San Diego, where I am the executive director. So I think I'd like to start with our belief, which never changes, and it's really the driving focus in our work. And it's we believe that teenagers can build a better world. And sometimes we say we believe teenagers working with their teachers can build a better world. And so in pursuit of supporting that, we encounter problems. And so I'd like to talk a little bit just about what are some of the problems with teenagers getting access to innovation culture. So Bell and Chetty, who are economists at Stanford, came out with a report, this was 2 years ago, where they estimated that there's millions of kids who they described as lost Einsteins, who could be innovating, creating life-changing innovations, but they just don't have equitable access to innovation culture. For a variety of reasons. And so some of those reasons, I'm trying to get my slides moving here. One, geographic location, depending on where you grow up, could influence your access to innovation culture. This is a map of the US, but this varies around the world as well. The darker areas are heavy innovation areas, and you can see in the southeast part of the United States, for example, very low rates of innovation. There are 5 colored dots on this map. Those cities are responsible for over 90% of the patents in the US. And so there are very concentrated areas where innovation work is happening. And we can define innovation in a lot of ways. I define innovation very simply. It's creating solutions to problems, and the solutions are new and better than what currently exists. But when we talk about innovation rates like this or patent rates, we're specifically focused on the development of intellectual property. Okay, so geographic location matters. It also matters, I'm getting slow, sorry, I'm getting slides moving slowly. It also matters on a global level. This is the Bloomberg Innovation Index, and that index takes into account, I think 7 different variables to create their index. The US dropped out of the top 10 this year, and South Korea is now considered the most innovative country in the world. And so why do we care about innovation economies? Innovation economies, innovation is at the heart of developing economics in a country. It's what makes people thrive or not thrive as a nation. And so just in terms of manufacturing, in terms of getting people out of poverty, et cetera, having an innovative, productive economy is important at a national level. It's important at a local level, for community development, for community engagement. But Bell and Chetty estimated that if we could recapture these millions of lost Einsteins, we could actually quadruple the rate of innovation around the world. And so they're pretty lofty goals to increase innovation, bring communities out of poverty, et cetera. Another problem that we're encountering with access to innovation, if I could get my slides, is parent income. So depending on how wealthy your parents are, Those in the top 1% of wealth, for example, are 10 times more likely to become inventors. And so you can kind of see this line here. People living down in poverty, those are the dots on the screen, are much less likely to become innovators. So parental income matters. I'm getting slow slide movement, and don't know why. Gender matters. Currently, if we look at patents in the United States, 18% are authored by females versus 82% male. If we look by race and ethnicity, again, these are patents. The majority are being developed by people who are white or designated as white or Asian. And you can see that the rates of patent production for persons of color are very low. And so we started working on a project that we call Pactful. It kind of is a riff off of Impact, to recapture these lost Einsteins, help teenagers develop an innovator's mindset, improve the rate of innovation, and really create the pipeline of the next generation of innovators throughout the world. And so Pactful itself is a lot of things. It's a curriculum. We have over 30 activities that are aligned to the UN Global Goals, or SDG goals, if you're familiar with those, and walk students through design thinking phases, and I'll talk about that in a minute. We've offer online events. We have an annual Jacobs Teen Innovation Challenge. We have online teacher workshops, and this year we're launching our first virtual exchange where we're pairing teenagers in other countries to work together on global problems. The platform, we have an online platform that facilitates all of this. It includes innovator and teacher guides, and we also have global competency cards. Global competency is becoming a really strong part of a lot of curricular frameworks, and developing these global competency skills are part of our work as well. And so when students first come in, our curricular process encourages them to really understand what are the SDG goals, or the global goals. There are 17 of them, if you're not familiar with them, and they cover every area of social problems that we see in current society: poverty, homelessness, gender inequality, etc., climate action, etc. So students get introduced to the global goals as a framework for thinking about social problems. We then take them through 3 phases of design thinking. And Stanford has a 5-phase model of design thinking. It starts with empathy, and it's the same model, we've just simplified it. And that's really to make it easier for teachers who aren't familiar with design thinking to increase adoption, is to simplify it for our younger middle school students. But taking them through 3 phases of understanding, really empathizing and digging deep into a problem, ideating solutions around that problem, and then prototyping and testing their solutions. When they're done, they learn to create a pitch to share their story with others, and then we actually have a competition around that pitch event. We also offer a student showcase. It's a filterable showcase of social good innovation solutions. And so you can see some of them here, and it shows the global goal and the title of the project and the team's progress. This is so teens can look at other projects that other students have engaged in, understand that there are other solutions. Down the road, our goal is to open up projects to where teens can invite others to participate in their work. I mentioned that we've hosted 2 teen innovation challenges. This year, we just completed last week the Jacobs Teen Innovation Challenge for 2021. It started with 2,800 students in 11 countries. We ended up with 5 winners, 2 honorable mentions, and 17 finalists, covering all areas of the global goals. These are actually the winners from, not this year, they're from last year. We just literally got the new winners 2 days ago. So you can see these solutions, things like Go Green food bags for sustainable food storage, Second place, Idle Reminder. This was an app that kids created to control bus emissions. They found out that they're a major polluter in cities as buses sit at stop signs and signals. They produce a lot of emissions. And so this app was to help control those emissions. That project actually went on to get funding from Google and take it further in development. So these are this is real work with real impact across society, across our climates, across our community. As I mentioned earlier, we're going to be launching our first Teen Innovation Exchange. This is so not only are kids going to work in teams on solutions in their own school, but we're finally pairing teachers and teams in different countries. And we'll be starting this year with an exchange with some teachers in Bogota, Colombia and San Diego. You know, with the goal of not only what can a team do when they're tackling a global issue, but what does that look like at my local context? So if we decide to tackle a homelessness issue, for example, maybe homelessness in Bogota is different than homelessness in San Diego. And the ability to compare and contrast what that problem looks like in different situations to promote global awareness is super powerful. It teaches civic engagement, global citizenship, 21st century skills. So we're super excited about this pilot project. And then I'd just like to wrap up by sharing with you and then open up to any questions you might have or comments. Some of our explorations with XR, and these are actually built into the curriculum itself. So I mentioned earlier, we have over 30 activities as students are working through phases of design thinking. The use of virtual worlds, as you know, if you're here, lend themselves to a lot of different types of collaborative work. This will be a great environment for our teen virtual exchange, allowing brainstorming sessions, virtual exchange team meetings, etc. We've done quite a bit with 3D modeling. So as the teams are prototyping solutions, we're actually teaching them how to work in Tinkercad, which you see on the bottom. It's a 3D modeling program, and then exporting those or 3D printing them out. Working in Tilt Brush, for example, Google Tilt Brush to prototype in VR. And I'm going to just share one story. We had a kid, this isn't a social good solution, but it speaks to the power of the 3D modeling, who kept building a robot. This robot was built first in Legos. And then he went and built it, and we were doing pixel art. And then he went into, it was Tilt Brush, and it was Google Blocks, which is a VR app. And he built this robot in blocks, which gave him a 3D file that he then exported into a game that he was designing in Unity and wireframed it and brought the robot to life. And I was so fascinated how easily this kid transitioned from digital space from a real life manipulative, like a Lego, designing digitally and then importing it and bringing it to life in a game environment. And it's that type of what do we call that? Working across domains of physical and virtual. And maybe some people can call that XR. I don't consider that XR, but that I think is the real power of this work. In VR itself, I'm really fascinated with apps that allow for empathy building. And I'm going to give you an example. If you haven't heard of Be Earth number 13, I'm going to screen share real quick for a second. Okay. So Be Earth number 13 is a project out of this XR Impact. It's funded by the UN in alignment with the global goals. And they chose global goal 13, which is climate action. This VR app is super powerful. The reason it's called Be Earth is because you actually become the planet. Your skin becomes the earth and you become part of the earth. You're taken into the rainforest. You experience what happens as you touch water, engage with water, etc. And then you also experience deforestation. And so and there's this video is awesome. It talks about the story of making the earth, but this ability of VR to create empathy, which is a starting point for design thinking. How are the people experiencing your problem? What are the issues that they're facing? And how can you feel that? So as a designer, you can create solutions for it. So I find these types of apps extremely powerful in our work, and I'm looking forward to integrating them this coming year. Okay, so I'm going to stop sharing that. That is an overview of Pactful and social good innovation with teens, and I'm open to any questions or comments that people might have. And you're going to have to help me. If I don't hear the question, you're going to have to help me understand how to engage with it. Okay, I'm seeing the text. Let me open that up a little bit.
Lisa, I was just checking to make sure that mic ability was on for the audience. They're good. So
Okay.
if anybody wants to unmute your mic, you can speak directly with Lisa.
I appreciate, I'm trying to read the name and it's in bright pink. It's hard for me to, the biologist, BBIT biologist. The South looks so pale. Yeah, it's shocking. And especially when you look at, not only is it just like a state or a region, but it's even within a city. So you can break down a city geographically, and where is innovation happening? Where are the accelerators located? The incubators, where are the angel investors hanging out? Where are the offices located? You actually see it at that micro level. In San Diego, it's blatant. There are places geographically that are, just like, let's get it on, high levels of innovation. And then you can go out to El Centro, which is a region living in poverty near the Mexico border. And you don't see that same type of activity there. So are you a kid where, if your kid's growing up in El Centro versus downtown San Diego, you're getting a totally different exposure to innovation. Oh, AKA Enrique. When I was at UNC inspired me. That's where a lot of this work stems from, because I would consider UNC and that whole, the triangles and innovation corridor. It's heavy innovation. Everything is innovation. On campus, I think there were 15 accelerators. Blackstone Group is there. There's tons of funding for innovation. There's graduate degrees in every school. Education, it didn't matter what school it was, there was an innovation degree there related to that topic. And it was such a dramatic shift for me when I moved to University of San Diego. The talk wasn't about innovation. The language wasn't about innovation. 3 years ago, it's starting to transition now.
I actually have a couple questions, Lisa. This is Heather. I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about working with teens, particularly with the design side and the challenge. Like, what are the challenges of beginning to try to encourage design thinking with teens? Do they need a lot of guidance? Do they need the vocabulary? Do they need worksheets to fill in? Like, what do they run into as the problems when they're trying to begin to think design thoughts?
So it's really interesting because the teachers that we work with introduce this idea of social good innovation and design thinking in different ways. Some of them start with just empathizing with the people who are having a problem. Like, what's a problem that we have in our classroom, our school, or our community? Usually that's the level it'll start at. Other teachers, though, don't, and that's phase one of design thinking. Other teachers will begin with the global goals. Hey, we want to introduce you to the global goals. Let's talk about why they're important. What are people doing around the world? Okay, now we're going to move into design thinking. And so let me just share with you Pactful really quick so you get an idea of the types of activities that kids are doing. So we log into that really quick. I'm going to sign in. And I'm going to go to one of my projects. Okay, so here are those 3 phases of design thinking, and this is what students see. We've purposely designed the workflow to be non-linear, which means that you could be working at these early stages, and maybe you've got a brainstorm idea and you need to get over here to get it down and ideate, but you still haven't finished your homework on deeply understanding the problem through research, etc. So that's why you see these little arrows. You can start anywhere in the process. Most teachers start here and then work through linear, but what we hear from teachers is that what kids like about it is they're not held up by another team. They can move forward when they're ready to move forward, and the curriculum is here. So I'm at the understand phase. I've got 3 things I can do here. I can explore it, and we've got little video overviews just talking about what's happening in this phase. But when we go into the do, you can see that there are, and here's all the details, and videos and rubrics and worksheets and whatever they need. That allow them to work through the understand phase. And this one, we have 10. You don't have to do 10. Complete 3 to 5. So we're allowing student choice based on the team's interest, where they want to put their time in doing the research, uncovering assumptions, creating an interview script, conducting your interviews. Are you doing observations? Are you going to explore the news? So they're just different little strategies that we can use, and then these happen at each level. And so that is one of the things that we hear. Most teachers do let kids choose for themselves which activities they're going to use and the pacing at which they're going through it, even though the teacher might introduce these in class. That may have been a long answer to your question, Heather. I don't even know if I directly answered it.
That was good. That was good. I was going in the direction of challenges, and so you did sort of eliminate that as a barrier. But now I'm going to turn the question upside down and say, what's the most amazing creativity you've seen in terms of teenagers working in innovation?
Oh my gosh, it's so powerful because here, let me show you this. They let me go back to just Pactful. I'm going to leave that. They submit their, let's see, curriculum, prior events here. These are the winners for this year. Okay, and these just went up yesterday. And so each team, as part of the competition, submits a video presentation. I won't play because I didn't even test any of that. But it's the teams. I don't know if you can hear that. They're talking through the work that they've done, and they're actually sharing with you their process. So they take us through the phases of design thinking. What was the problem they're trying to solve? What were the solutions they prototyped, and what was the final solution that they came up with? This one, the poverty preventers, was awesome because they developed the space umbrella for homeless people. It was a lightweight solution for creating shelter, getting people out of the sun, easily reproducible, low cost, transportable, etc. So it's hard to pick one. When we go through the process of like second place, first place, I mean, we have rubrics that guide our work, but I mean, look at these 2 girls sitting here talking about, they developed a solar charger for phones. So just talking us through their process, showing us their prototype that was duct taped together, why one prototype worked, another one didn't. It gives me a lot of hope for humanity.
I'll say, wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
More questions for Lisa.
I do want to say probably one of the biggest barriers to adoption that we face, and this is true with any new curriculum, is it has to start with the teacher. Because if the teacher's, number one, not an enthusiast, number two, doesn't understand social good, doesn't understand the need for innovation. Number three, doesn't understand where it fits in their curriculum, right? Because traditional curriculum is so structured by subject area at the middle and high school level. It's the biggest challenge we face. And so most of the teachers that we're currently working with, not all of them, but a lot of them are people interested in design thinking. Somehow they caught the bug somewhere, or they're interested in the global goals, and then they're, so they're coming in two different directions. But that is probably our biggest challenge right now, that innovation itself isn't really a part of most curriculums, unless the school has like a STEM or engineering type curriculum that it's integrating heavily with its students. Are there any other questions or comments? Well, I thank you for the opportunity to present today. I'm going to stop sharing my screen. I'm going to go to the last slide because my contact information is there. We do have a free teacher summer camp. It's for middle school teachers, some high school teachers, homeschooling parents, anybody who's really interested. It's only a 1 hour live meeting and then an online experience. It's about a couple hours a week of work. It lasts 3 weeks in the summer. Please sign up at pactful.org. We'd love to have you. All of our materials are open source. There's never a fee charged. We're so happy to have the support of Dr. Irwin and Mrs. Joan Jacobs funding this project. And feel free to always reach out to me on email, Twitter, LinkedIn. Love talking to people. Thank you, guys.
All right. F4 is clapping. Thank you, Lisa. Oh, F4.
Thank you. Yay.
That's excellent. All right. So the main event has finished. We're going to stick around for a few minutes to just chat with Lisa and maybe take a photo. Thank you again to our videographers, Tony Cube Studios, and the YouTube audience. Go ahead and end the recording.